record this session from this point onwards. So we talked about syllabus. Nobody has any questions about the syllabus. So we'll now move on to the units. So I have divided this course in units, and we'll be covering different units at different times, at different paces. And as you saw in the syllabus, let me go back. In fact, I should not have closed it. It talks about each week what topics we'll be covering. And these are coming from the book. And I do supply or provide you with additional material when I think you may need additional material. Plus, since I record the class sessions, those recordings will also be available to you. So probably by, if not tonight, tomorrow or the weekend sometimes, I'll post the recording under Unit 1. I'll send you guys an email. Okay. So we talked about the syllabus. We talked about the course outline. Now I am diving into the chapter 1. So under PowerPoint, I have the PowerPoint for the first chapter. So hold on a second. Let me open the PowerPoint. And also at the same time, let me introduce one more feature to you guys. Right at the bottom, do you guys see reactions on the Zoom? Okay. In reactions, I want you to find a check mark. So go to reactions. That's what Kiala put, check mark. You can actually search for it by clicking the 3 dots ellipse button, and you can look for a check mark. Okay. The reason I prefer the check mark over the thumbs up, because thumbs up disappears and checkbox stays. So when I say, is everybody done? So now different people get done at different times, maybe like 2-3 minutes gap between them, maybe. So that's why the green check will stay longer than compared to, and then I can always go in there and I can clear the options. So I can go to the participation and I can clear the feedback. So when I clear the feedback, then that gets cleared. Otherwise stays. So the green check that I was talking about is the one that a lot of you were able to find and put. So that's why, we'll use that green check instead of thumbs up, like this green check in a circle. That's the one. Yep. That's the yes mark. Nikki, I do not have that in this course. I know some instructors do, but I don't have it. Okay. No problem. Okay. So everybody found that green check. So that's why now the question for which you will respond with the green check. If you have book, then give me a green check. Okay. Okay. So some of you have it and some of you don't. Let me show you how you can get your book, at least for the first couple weeks, for those of you who don't have it yet and are still waiting, for free. No, only the first 2 chapters. Okay. Because I figured out a way. And it's not illegal. It's legal. Okay. So, for those of you who do not have your books, I want you to go to Amazon.com. At least you won't be able to tell me that I don't have the book, so I did not do the assignment. See? I have my own ways. Yep. Exactly, Alex, you're right. And you search for that book, Mastering IBM I. Here's the book. You click on it, and it gives you look inside. When you look inside, it has the index, and it has chapter number 1, the whole chapter. Right? And it has chapter number 2. Okay, but not completely. So you are at least good for a week, right? So by the time we'll be back in class next time, those of you who do not have the book will have yours. Okay? Yeah. Whatever, from wherever you're getting. I'm not saying to get it from Amazon, from wherever your book is coming. But at least you're covered for the first week. And you don't have an excuse to tell me that I didn't do the assignment, I did not do the quiz because I didn't have the book. So no excuses. Okay? Everybody got this? Okay. Then let me clear the participation feedback. Okay. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. And for those of you who have the book, let's go to the book. And all of you have the book, so all of you can go to the book. Now in this book, right after all the indexes is done, there is an introduction. The introduction is a couple pages. And this book was actually written by Jim Buck and Jerry. Jim Buck took over from Jerry when Jerry decided to retire from writing books. And Jim Buck actually was a gateway instructor. And when you start going to the conferences, you can actually get to meet with him. So that's why, you know. So on the very first introduction page, he talks about what is this book all about? Who is this book for? And then he moves on and continues as to who he took the book from and what else students should learn when they go over this book. So those 2 pages really give you a little bit of an insight what to expect from the book. Okay. Okay. Also, he was kind enough to thank me in his book under the acknowledgement page, right before the contents start. If you look at the 3rd paragraph, because originally this book was not a textbook when it was written by Jerry. So I gave suggestions to Jim how to convert this from a reference book to a textbook and what to write, what not to write, and how to restructure some of this book. But anyway, so that's why he thanked me at the beginning of the book. Moving on to the very first chapter, chapter number 1. Okay. Right at the beginning of each chapter, Jim introduces a few paragraphs as an overview of the chapter, and then he goes into the chapter objectives. He talks about some of those highlights in the presentation, but he doesn't write everything in the presentation that he writes in that overview. So let's look at the overview area, which is on the very first page of chapter 1, the gray section. IBM I OS, that is the name of the operating system. Okay. Does anybody remember what did I tell you as the name of the machine
The old name or the current?
No, current name of the machine.
Like the power systems?
Yes, that's power system, right? So IBM OS is the operating system, and power system is the name of the physical machine. Is one of the most sophisticated on the market. To a new user, the apparent complexity may seem like a huge jigsaw puzzle waiting to be solved. So that's why don't get overwhelmed by things that you may see. In this chapter, Jim's emphasis is to teach you about screens. There are 4 types of screens that he will talk about in this chapter. And we will also learn about what each of the screen is called and why they are different from each other. So he says that here we'll talk about the types of screens, we'll talk about menus, and in this chapter, we'll talk about work management on this system. Okay. In the 3rd paragraph, as in any other technical field, you will need to master a number of terms and concepts to be successful in this operating system. Now he moves on to the objectives. So you will learn about how you go about signing onto the system, explain the difference between a system and a subsystem, describe the 2 most common job types, list several attributes of a user profile, and list several features of the IBM OS. Then explain the function of IBM control language. So you need to understand the control language and control language programming. They're 2 different things. Control language is the set of commands that you can issue on this operating system to do jobs. And control language programming is an art of writing scripts using programming, syntax, and standards, and incorporating the commands in between to do your day-to-day operations in a script form. So you'll be learning about control language programming next semester. In this semester, you will only be exposed to control language commands. So control language is the name of the language through which you talk to this operating system. Just like there are DOS commands, there are Unix commands, there are Linux commands. But here, the commands are not after an operating system because operating system names can change, but the commands don't change. Okay? So for example, Windows operating systems always have the word Windows in them. It could be Windows 3.11, Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows 2000, Windows Millennium, and so on and so forth. Windows 10, Windows 11. But IBM operating systems do not always have the same name. For example, the predecessor was System I. The predecessor was OS 400. So, you know, the names keep changing. But these commands have been in use since 1960s. They keep adding more commands, but they don't remove the existing commands. So that's why the language is specially designed for that purpose. So we'll be learning about the purpose of system values, how to check them, 4 types of displays, their uses and their components, and explain the relationship between CL commands and IBM operating system menu paths. Now, we are diving into the actual chapter, page number 2. Excuse me. IBM is a complex set of programs that controls traditional functionalities, which you would find in any other operating systems. I want you to read the first 2 paragraphs on page number 2 under the system. There'll be a lot of information here that you will not understand. So you guys are reading through it. And in the second paragraph, the first part of the sentence is easy to follow, that it comes with standard basic configuration, which includes predefined system settings. That's also understandable. For work management, what in the world is that? That means the day-to-day operations of the system. That's managing the day-to-day operations of the system is called the work management. But that work is of how many types? It's in the same sentence. How many types of work? 2. One is interactive and the other one is batch, right? And you guys, some of you might have heard about the word batch before. What is batch?
Those are kind of like the, at least my understanding is those are the kind of like the stuff that runs in the background,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep. Batch jobs are those items that are to run in the background, and interactive are those that are run in the foreground. So IBM I operating system gives you 2 kinds of tasks, but it doesn't use the word tasks. What word does it use? Interactive. Yeah, exactly. Job is the word that IBMers understand. It has 2 types of jobs. Interactive means the user have to be signed in and has to be live, present for that job to be accepted and executed by the operating system. And batch jobs are those that are submitted, and they may run even after the user signs out. For example, when we back up the system, we run a batch job that at 1 in the morning on Sunday, the system should start the backup process. So that is a batch job. Nobody has to sit there and do this. But if I'm running a program that I want to see the output of, there'll be an interactive job. Okay, moving on to subsystems. That's a totally different idea. You don't have that concept in Windows. We'll learn about subsystems on the next page. But just for you to understand briefly, subsystem is an environment in which you are running the operating system. It's the name of an environment. So as an administrator, I could create many subsystems that would run on top of the operating system. And I can assign every group a different subsystem. The subsystem that you guys will be interacting with, its name is deathstar.gtc.edu. It is deathstar.gtc.edu will be your subsystem. Okay? But when we used to teach the admin course, we used to give different people different subsystems so that they can use it as a playground. They could mess with it. They could destroy it if they want to, and nothing would happen to the other subsystems running concurrently on that machine. Every subsystem runs in its own little silo. If anything goes wrong with it, it only goes down. Nobody else gets affected. So that's a very unique concept for non-IBMers. That how is it possible that you're running, and these are not virtual machines, you know? So people think, no, these are not virtual. These are live, real operating system environment. And you're running many of them concurrently on the machine. Okay? So these are not virtual machines. So subsystems can be created and system resources allocated to optimize workload distribution and throughput according to the special needs of a particular business. Okay, now go ahead, Alex.
I'm sorry if I've misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
So the subsystems can they communicate to the main system?
No, no, no,
They
no, no.
cannot?
No, main system is not an actual thing. You can only work on the main system when you are part of a subsystem.
Oh,
Nobody directly talks to the main system. So main system creates subsystems and users are in the subsystem. So
okay.
it's not like, it's not like a big bucket containing smaller buckets. It's not like that.
So an analogy for how, just to picture, is it's a
Yeah,
bunch of small buckets all next to each other?
exactly. There are a bunch of small buckets all running on the hardware.
This is only within the deathstar.gtc.edu, correct? Or are we talking about just entirely?
All IBM mid-range platforms are subsystem-based platforms. The name of your subsystem on our local server is called deathstar.gtc.edu. It is one of the subsystems that we run on top of this power system that we have given access to you. So you guys will be interacting with Death Star subsystem. And your operating system, you'll learn about this in week 3. Your operating system never directly talks to the hardware either. That's another thing. And we will learn about why. And then there are layers of the machine at hardware and software level. And your operating system never directly communicates with the underlying hardware. So again, as I said earlier, it's different. Sometimes we will have something to compare it with in the Windows world. Sometimes I will not have a comparable model for you. And I'll be like, well, you just have it like this. You follow? Okay. Why Texas is this big? I don't know. It is just big. Okay, that's how much we could get out of Mexico. I'm just kidding. So that's what it is. So now moving on to, it's a multi-user, multitasking operating system. That means multiple users, just like on a Windows machine or Windows server, can be on this operating system at the same time. And every person could be running one or more tasks on the system. So this is not something new to any of you. However, the system's job is to make sure that things are optimized and run efficiently. So it can prioritize the jobs. So what is the definition of a job? That's right in that 3rd paragraph and also on slide number 7. The basic unit of work is job. So whenever we use the word job in the IBM iOS, we basically mean to say that you have given some task to the system to do. That task could be interactive or batch. A job refers to a unit of work, and it includes all, but not limited to, programs, files, instructions. Notice programs and files are treated differently, as I told you earlier today. They're different entities. Programs are not files. Files are strictly to store data. Programs are a collection of instructions, which you are learning in your Intro to Programming and Database class. Okay. Now, moving to the bottom of page 2, which is slide number 8. The concept of an object. You don't have this concept in other operating systems the way it is in this operating system. Anything that has a name and it takes up space on the disk is called an object. Anything that has a name and it takes up space in storage is called an object. That's right on in the first line of paragraph under IBM I objects. Okay. What is the first sentence of the paragraph? It's an object-based operating system. That means if you as a user is interacting with anything on this machine, that thing has to be an object for you to interact with it. If you're running a program, that program has to be an object. If you are looking at a data file, it has to be an object. Anything and everything that you interact with has to be an object for you to interact with it. Does that make sense? Okay. IBM supplies a large number of objects through the IBM I OS and licensed program products. Usually, the IBM I OS provided items start with the letter Q. That's why IBM developers never name their things starting with letter Q, because that could cause confusion. Okay, it's just a standard. Programmers and operators create other objects as they need them. And you will create objects too. Okay. Now, in Windows, how do you differentiate between a Word document and, let's say, Google Doc?
The file type.
File type, right? Which is called a file extension. Correct? Everybody knows that stuff, right? We don't have that concept here. File extensions or file types are not the way you differentiate between what? Between?
Objects.
Very good. Objects, right? That is the word that we will continuously use. We will not use the word file. Whatever is the definition of file in Windows, we call it object here. So what happens when you create an object, first of all, your operating system tries to figure out what kind of object it is. For example, if it's a Java program, a C++ program, or RPG program, it is characterized as a program object. That's the main categorization. Then it differentiates between them by what you call file extension, but it doesn't call that. We will learn what it calls that in place of file extension. But for your understanding, I'm going step by step. So what is the first level of object understanding? It needs to know what kind of object it is. Why does it needs to know what kind of object it is? Because out of those 2,000 plus commands the operating system provides, not every object can run all kinds of commands. So it needs to know the type of the object for it to know what kind of commands will run on it. So and you don't decide that. Operating system decides in which bucket it wants the object to be placed. So if you are creating a database, where would you think it will place that? Which bucket? I already told you guys, database is a data, and data is
A file.
their file, right? So it creates a file bucket, okay? Now, there are certain commands that I can use to do certain jobs. For example, if I want to run a program, I use a command call. If I try to use the call command on a database file, it will error out. It will tell me this command will not work on this object because it knows by the object type, this command doesn't qualify. So the first level of distinction is object type. Then the next level of distinction would be whatever file extension by which it wants different objects to be opened in different software or utilities. But that's not the primary distinction. The primary distinction is object type. If you're creating a menu, then menu is the object type. If you're creating a queue, queue is the object type. So there are different types of objects. So an object type, I'm looking at page number 3. You can see the word object type in third line in bold. An object type determines how the object is used on the system. That is, the actions that one can take when using the object. That's what the object types are used for. It determines how it will be used. Common object types include programs, files, commands, and also user profile objects. Object type is always assigned by the system. You don't control that, and is determined by the command used to create the object. So whichever command you use to create the object will automatically tell the system to treat this like that object. Because I cannot use the same command to create a program that I would use to create a database file, or that I would use to create a queue, or that I would use to create a user. So based on the nature of the program, it knows what kind of object it is. Object type is always assigned by the system and is determined by the command used to create the object. The type cannot be changed after it is created. Okay, you have no control over that. Okay. So far, so good. Everything that you interact with, Kevin, is an object. If it's not an object, then you cannot independently interact with it. And as I said, operating system, based on the command you use, figures out the object type. So for example, if I am trying to compile a program, only programs can be compiled, so it knows right away that this will be a program object.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt too much. That's why I'm typing in the chat. But so there's different levels of objects, and the system, whatever system you are running, is what determines what type of object it's going to be.
Not levels. There are different types of objects, and based on the command you use to create an object, it determines what kind of object it is.
Okay, so it's all purely on what command you use.
Exactly.
Okay, that
Okay.
makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, so you cannot use the same command to create different kinds of objects. So the commands that you would use to create program objects can only be used to create program objects. The command that you can use to create database objects could only be used to create database objects. So that's how it figures out what kind of object it is. And once it figures out what kind of object it is, you cannot change it. Nobody can change it. System locks the object in that type. Okay. Any other question? Okay. So now comes the next topic, subsystems. Page number 3. A subsystem is a predefined operating system environment the system uses to coordinate the workflow and system resources. Nobody can directly run the system. The only way to run the system is to first create a subsystem environment loaded with whatever needs to be loaded. Users are assigned who can use the subsystem, and you can prioritize the users. You can give them permissions and privileges, and then you can be on the subsystem. So nobody actually runs on the system. You're always running in one of the subsystems. So when you log into a subsystem. All jobs in the IBM I OS are run inside a subsystem. You never run a job outside of a subsystem. The system uses a subsystem description to define the required resources to process the work. The components of a subsystem description determine how the system uses resources to process jobs within the subsystem. Some subsystems could have higher priority than other subsystems. Some subsystems are given access to more RAM than other subsystems. It all by how the administrator decides to create the subsystems. Attributes of subsystems are defined in the subsystem description, which includes the name of the subsystem, the number of jobs that can run at one time on the subsystem, the storage pools the subsystem will use, the job queues the subsystem will use. And what's a job queue? When you submit something on the subsystem, it doesn't automatically runs it. It rather puts it in a queue and it waits its turn. And when its turn comes in, then it runs it. But you wouldn't even know because everything runs so quickly. We're talking about microseconds or nanoseconds, depending on how busy the system is. Okay, moving on to the types of jobs. There are two kinds of jobs, interactive and batch. We already talked about that. Interactive job begins when you sign in as a user and it terminates when you sign out. Interactive jobs run like you are having a conversation with the system. So you send a message, the system responds. That's basically the interactive job. Bad jobs do not require any intervention from the user. Rather, you submit a job to the job queue. The job sits in the queue, waiting its turn. When its turn comes in, it starts working. So that's what interactive versus batch jobs are. How about I let you guys read from the bottom of page 3 to almost the entirety of page 4, except for the control language part. Any questions, anybody?
In the last paragraph,
Oh,
it
that's
said-
fine. Take your time.
in the last paragraph, it says, that batch, I'm a little confused. Can batch jobs be ran while the user is in and doing interactive jobs?
Yeah. Because once you submit it and you say, okay, I want this to be executed, let's say at 7:30 p.m. and you're still logged in at 7:30 p.m., it's just like it'll just run.
All right.
And also you can submit a batch job from within the interactive job. So let's say you're running a program and one of the instructions of the program is to create a batch job. So the batch job will be submitted to the operating system. It will put it in the batch job queue while the rest of the program that has interactive instructions, they will run. The program will be done. The user will log out, but that one instruction submitted to the batch will run on its time. Okay. Okay. So control language, which is the next item in the list here. The control language is the language in which we interact with the operating system. So IBM iOS provides a single, consistent user interface to its various functions through CL commands. So CL commands allow you to interact with the operating system, and there are 2,000 plus CL commands. Nobody knows them all, but we'll show you how you can figure out what commands are there. Okay, that's for another day, not today. Additional commands are added in different operating system releases. Each individual command is an object. Why is it an object? Because you interact with it. And you cannot interact with it if it is not an object, because it is an object-based operating system. Okay. Now, has any one of you ever worked with commands before? Like on any other operating system?
Like the command prompts.
Yeah.
I've done Linux and Microsoft and Windows.
Okay. So let's say when you type a command, sometimes you have to type commands and some additional words after the command, which describe your command more. What do you call those additional words that you type after the command? Okay. In some cases, they're called modifiers. Here in this operating system, they're called parameters. Okay, parameters. So for example, I want to run a program called admin. So my command is call, and let's say my program is admin. Okay, so call is the command. I just wrote that in the chat. So call is the command, admin is the parameter. So anything I write after the command is considered to be its parameter. Do all commands need parameters? No, but most of them do. Okay. Okay. Now I want you to read in the book the bottom of page 4 and the first half of page 5, which is about control language. Okay. Any questions about this? So if somebody asks you, what is HLL?
A high level language.
Okay. Is it a language that is high? No,
Not really.
not right. Okay. So what is a high level language?
It's a more restricted language. So you when you declare a variable, you have to set what type it is, or it's more restricted.
Well, that's a strict type language, but high level languages are those languages which are closer to human languages. Okay. If it is closer to machine language, it's called low level language. It's not very descriptive. It's very condensed and confined. Like assembly language is a low level language, but Java, RPG, C#, these are all high level languages. They're very close to English like words, very expressive. Okay. So there are some other high level languages that are mentioned like RPG, COBOL, C and C++, and stuff like that. Okay. Okay. Then it talks about system values. System values are those words that have special meaning in this language, in this operating system. I shouldn't say language, in the operating system. All system values start with a special symbol. What is that symbol?
Asterisk.
Oh, you've been reading chat. Yes, it is. Okay, that is it. Anytime you see anything that is other than a command that we write, starts with an asterisk, it has to be a system value. System values are not objects. They're part of the object. They're never an object. Okay. For example, if I create a library, I type the command that I want to create a library called library1, and this will be a test library. Look at this command I wrote in the chat. How many parameters does this command has? 2. Library1 and test. One of the 2 parameters is not a system value, is a user-defined value. The other parameter is a system value. Does that make sense? Okay. So commands have parameters. Those parameters could be a combination of user-defined and system-defined values, or could be all system-defined values, or could be all user-defined values. Okay. Now I want you to read the bottom of page 5 and beginning part of page 6 about system values. What is IPL?
Initial program mode.
And what is that?
It's like a boot process thing.
Okay. It loads the operating system when the power is turned on. So that's your initial program load. Okay. So we will now take a break here till 7:50. When you guys come back from the break, then we'll look at the licensed programs, the user profiles, and the 4 screen types. So I'll see you guys at 7:50. So before we went on break, we were talking about system values. These are special words that have special meanings but are not objects. Next, we will transition to licensed programs. There are some programs that come with the IBM I operating system that users and programmers can use. However, there are some software products that are available from the outside of the IBM or through IBM that you can install on top of your operating system. So those installations are not like Windows installations. They are done very differently than you would install a Windows by simply running an executable file. Things don't work that way in the IBM platform. A few licensed program products are shipped with all IBM I systems at no additional cost, but for the most part, licensed program products are chargeable. These licensed programs could be categorized as application development tools, could be communication support tools, could be programming languages that are non-IBM programming languages, or could be web products. So they can fall in many categories. In your book on pages 6 and 7, author gives you examples of each one of these areas. There are some softwares that we will use. For example, in the application development tool area, you will see RDP, which is basically RDI now. So we will be using that tool. We'll be using SCU tool. We'll be using SDA tool. We will be using DFU tool, and we'll be using PDM. We'll be using all of these tools in this course. Similarly, on page number 7, it talks about programming languages. So we will be, eventually, you guys will be coding in RPG, but we will be using SQL in this course. Similarly, eventually, you guys will also learn about some web technologies that runs on top of the IBM iOS. The next topic is user profile. In order for any person to communicate with IBM iOS, they need to have a user profile. Their username and their password is part of their user profile. So what other sets of information are part of the user profile? Your username is not called username in the IBM system. It's called your profile name. Okay. So anytime somebody says, do you have a profile? They pretty much mean to say that, do you have a user profile on the system? That means that's the only way you can access the system. And each one of you will get your own user profile, which I will share with you maybe today. You'll be able to log in and we'll be able to test to see if you are able to successfully log in. So each one of you will get your default password, which you will change the first time you log in. And each one of you is given a class, a user class. So you are basically user in your user class. However, you know, there are operators who have more administrative rights, but the top level administrators on this platform are called security officers or sec officers. We don't call them administrators in IBM iOS. They are called security officers. Everybody gets some special authorities, which could be about the jobs, their capability to save stuff on the system or to create or change stuff. Every person gets an initial program. That is a program that runs when they first log in to the system for every session. Every session that you run on the system, your initial program loads your profile and your data and some of the other stuff right into your environment. Then you land on your very first menu, which is called your initial menu. For all of you, your initial menu will be main menu. The environment that you will be logging into, that environment is basically called 5250 environment or green screen environment. So some people call it green screen, but its official name is 5250. 5250 is a tool through which we log into this operating system. It's a command-based tool. I don't know if any of you have ever used Telnet or PuTTY. Those are some tools to log into the Unix systems. It's very similar to that. It's just a 5250 is an environment that lets you do command line access to the system. Every person who logs into the system is given a library. Okay. Now, for example, if you are a Windows user, where do your files get to save by default?
In your file explorer.
Where in your file explorer?
Usually save to the, I'm sorry, if I'm getting this correct.
Documents.
Your primary drive into your downloads folder.
Where
Downloads
in the
documents.
primary drive? It's called, the area is called documents. Or in the good old days, it used to be called My Documents. That's your landing area by default, but you can always change it. Here, in this environment, as I told you, we do not have the concept of folders. Rather, we have a concept of library. Library is an area where your files or your data or your objects get to be stored. And the library is equivalent to folder, but it's not exactly like folder. But here, people store objects in libraries. And everybody is given one library, at least one library, and that library is called the current library where things go by default. For all of you, your current library will be exactly the same as your user profile. Okay? So your current library will be your user profile. It will be sharing the same name as your user profile. So it'll be easier for you to identify that. When an administrator, yeah, Caleb, go ahead.
Can a user have multiple libraries?
Yeah, you can have multiple libraries, but you only have one current library.
Okay.
Okay, you can have up to 250 libraries, which are your what you may call it, in your library list, but you can have far more than, there's no limit to the number of libraries you can own. Okay, when an administrator does not assign a current library to you, then the system automatically assigns a library to you, and that library is called QGPL. Q, what is Q for?
IBM supplied.
Very good. And GPL is General Purpose Library. So that library is given to everybody in case if they don't, but all of you will have a current library. All of the user profiles will have a job description containing the specific set of job related attributes, your job queues, your scheduling priorities, your message queues, and so on and so forth. Then all of you are assigned to a group profile. So all of you share whatever privileges and authorities and permissions and restrictions. You're all in the same one. Now, if you do if you do 3 unsuccessful attempts, or if you do not use your user profile for 3 months, your profile gets disabled. So you would have to email your instructor to enable it. Okay? So your status could go enable or disable, but nobody can see your password. Nobody can see anybody's, even you can't see your own password. If you forget your password, the admin can provide you with a new password and you can go and change that password. Output queue is also given to every user. So where the user's printer information is. So anytime you want to send something to the printer, it first goes to the output queue. Then you can go to the output queue and release it to the physical printer, or you could just delete it from there. So that's another thing we'll learn about later. Okay, so the green screen environment is called your 50-50, and it looks something like this. This is your sign-on screen. So as you can see over here on the sign-on screen, you have a subsystem, and you need to provide your username and your password, and that's when you sign on to the system. When you sign into the system, the first screen that you see is your program, initial program. Remember from slide 26, everybody gets an initial program. Okay. After the initial program, you see your initial menu. For all of you, your initial menu is the main menu. The main menu. This is what you will see when you will successfully log in. And this is 50-50 environment. Okay. So sign in and log in. And after you log in, you get to see your, okay. Now, has any one of you logged into one login yet? No, okay. Now, okay. Now, if you go to this website, I'll stop sharing, okay? gtc.onelogin.com. What is it that you guys see when you go there? Yeah, okay. So that's what I was asking. How do you guys get to the Blackboard? Maybe through my gateway? How did you guys come to Blackboard? My gateway, okay. So when you go to gtc.onelogin.com, does it directly take you to something like this?
Yeah, I have that, except I don't have the WIDS thing.
Yeah, you will not, because as an instructor, we have access to WIDS. You don't. And you don't want to see what that is. This is the most horrible software. But anyway, so do you have V2 Cloud? Yes. Okay. So that's the software. Do you guys know what V2 Cloud is? Have you used it yet?
No.
No. Okay. So if you are taking classes with Gateway in the software developer program, there are some software that you cannot install on your computer, period, because you don't have license for that, but we do. And they're required in the program. So we have loaded those software in a special environment that you can access from within the browser. And V2 Cloud is that service that lets you access the Windows environment that we have created for you that you can access from right within the browser, irrespective of your underlying operating system. The other reason we did this is because there are some non-Windows users, or there are some people who don't have access to machines that are strong enough to run the software required in the course. So we created one operating system environment in which we put all the software that you need to run in this program. Most of the software other than IBM, you guys can install for free from the internet if you have a machine that is capable of doing so. But for IBM software, since you don't have access to them, you can't install because they're specially licensed to Gateway. You can access them through our environment. Okay, so V2 Cloud. Let me take you through the step-by-step process here. Okay, this document, you guys already have logged into you click on V2 Cloud. Once you click on V2 Cloud, it may ask you to come up with set up your multi-factor authentication. So you could either do it through a text message, or you can download an app on your phone like OneLogin Protect or Google Authenticator, whatever works for you. And that will allow you to set up your two-factor authentication. That's a required thing for this. So you will access all your IBM tools through V2 Cloud, and not just IBM. You can also access Visual Studio, Microsoft Office, Eclipse, and many other software that you will need in this program. If you cannot install them on your local computer, you can access them through V2 Cloud. So you guys need to tell me if once you are done setting up the V2 Cloud multi-factor. So you need to give me a green check. And once everybody's has given me the green check, I will go to the next step.
blanked out. I kind of just forgot halfway through this. So I'm at the login screen. Do we log in right now? I'm sorry.
Once everybody's set up their two-factor authentication, only then we'll
Oh.
move on to the next step. So right now, I'm not going to the next step yet.
I'm so sorry about that. I got mixed up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
So give me a green check when you guys are done with your two-factor authentication. So we're still waiting for Cicely, Megan, Xavier, Dylan, Terry, and Joey.
Yeah, I don't have that under my Blackboard.
You don't oh you don't see V2 Cloud?
No,
One of the apps? Did you click on GTC apps, everything? It still doesn't shows there? You still don't see there, Cicely? V2 Cloud student?
no. Oh, 1 second.
And how about you, Xavier?
You're asking if I was able to get into V2, right?
Say it again?
You're asking if I was able to get into the V2, right?
Yes, if you were able to get this far, that you can see this screen.
Yeah, I was able to get that far.
Oh, okay. Since I did not get the green check from you, that's why I didn't know that if you were. So for those of you who have made this far, enter your student ID and password and log in. Oh, Emilio, were you also not able to see the V2 Cloud?
I was able to set up my two-step, but I'm on this page where it says get started and it says connect to full desktop.
Yeah. Go ahead. Click connect.
When I click connect, it says pop-up window blocked.
Yeah, so you may have to click on your browser in the address bar in the top right corner. There may be some kind of a pop-up blocker. You got to click on it and you have to enable the pop-up blocker.
Okay.
I have an issue. When I log in, it tells me that I don't have like privilege, that my privilege has been revoked or something, or contact the administrator.
Dylan, would you be able to share your screen?
Yeah, probably.
Because
I've never used this.
I can basically take notes and then I can inform our tech team for anybody who's having issues so that they can look into it and resolve it.
Yeah. Oh, share screen right there. All right.
Okay, so can you please enter your Blackboard username and password here?
Oh, never mind. Maybe it might be working now.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay. So let me clear everybody's feedback for you guys to give me a new feedback when you're able to successfully log in.
The username and password is the same that we use on the website, right?
On the Blackboard, correct. Yep. Okay, so we still have maybe like 4 or 5 people not in the system yet. And Cicely, I did not hear from you as to what is your status?
I still can't find it or don't see it.
Okay, can you share your screen? I'll stop sharing and I'll let you share your screen. Oh, you are in the wrong place. You got to type on the address bar gtc.onelogin.com. gtc.onelogin.com. Just replace the entire address with gtc.onelogin.com. Right in the address bar at the top. Where you see experience.elysiancloud.com in that box. Yep. Replace that with gtc.onelogin.com. Okay. You can delete that and then, yeah. Okay. Let's wait. Actually, you went to the self-service. This way I wanted you to just type gtc.onelogin.com. And if anything else comes after that, just delete that. So first press delete on the keyboard. Yeah, delete everything till the trust. Delete everything till the word trust. Yeah, also delete the word trust. Yeah. Also delete the word trust. Just hit backspace. Yep, hit enter now. Awesome. Okay, do you see V2 Cloud there? Yeah, click on that. Yeah, so I will let you stop sharing so that you can now set up your authentication. I think you are already set up with your SMS. So Okay, so let's go back to our list here. We have Taylor, we have Caleb, Dylan, Peyton, Spencer. Okay, Taylor is done. Okay, Dylan, Caleb, Peyton. Are you guys done?
It's not my login's not working for me. It's saying is wrong.
Okay, Caleb. Can you let me stop sharing? Can you share your screen, please, Caleb?
Um, sure. I'll just do my whole screen. All right.
It's loading. Okay. No, you don't put that. You put your student ID.
Oh, student ID.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do I find that?
How do you log into Blackboard? You don't put your student ID there?
No, I use the email.
Okay, just 1 second. Let me tell you your student ID. Your student ID is Dylan Bradley, right?
Caleb Davidson.
Oh, so Caleb. Oh, Caleb Davidson, sorry. Caleb Davidson. It's 140 7011. And it's the same password as your Blackboard. Here you go.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so we're still missing Dylan. Dylan. Oh, you got it. Okay. Cicely, did you get it now?
Yes, I got it.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Awesome.
Sorry.
No problem. So once you guys are in this operating system, you can see if you click on the start menu, you can see all the software that you need in the program are available to you right here, even Visual Studio. And some of the other software that you will need in this program. But for the most part, you can download most of the software. You only need to be able to come, you only need to come here for IBM stuff. Okay. Do you guys know that you all have, you all can download Microsoft Office 365 for free just because you're Gateway students? Right? Okay. Now, let's move on to the IBM software that you will need for the first half of this course. That is called Access Client Solutions, or ACS. Go ahead and double click on ACS. It will take a few seconds for you to load the ACS. Okay, yes, Dylan, it does. Yep. Strange. It's acting weird. Okay. Is it not loading for you guys either, the ACS?
No, it's not. It's just glitching.
It's just glitching.
Yeah,
Okay.
mine loaded, but it just took a while.
Okay, let me sign back again. Oops. Ah, now it came back for me. Now it came up for me. When I So all you need to do is sign back, is to simply refresh your browser window. Every time you refresh your browser window, it logs you out, log back in, and see if that comes up. Okay. We will just wait for, let me clear the feedback again. For everybody to give me new feedback when you can see the IBM Access Client Solutions window. So we're still waiting for Cicely, Gavin, Taylor. Okay, still waiting for Cicely and Kevin. No, it's a desktop. You know, I mean, you would not want to be coding on a mobile device, right? It's pretty small. Okay, Kevin, what issues are you having? Can you please describe?
Scratch that. I think it just, yeah, it just popped up. It wasn't popping up for like a solid 2-3 minutes, and then like 5 of them populated. So
Yeah, you can close 4 of them and just leave 1 of them open then.
perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay. So now let me clear the feedback. Cicely, you good?
So mine got this Teams thing.
Yeah, you can close the Teams. We are more interested in the IBM Access Client Solutions software.
Yeah, it brought me in there.
Yeah, okay. So as long as you can see that, okay.
Yeah.
So IBMers usually call it ACS. So if you ever hear from me ACS, just ask me what is it if you have forgotten, because you know I'm so accustomed to using abbreviations. Okay, so now here, what do you think? Where should you click?
Are you asking us about getting into the 5250?
Aha, you probably want to go there, right? But let me point out one more thing. On my screen, you see next to system deathstar.gtc.edu. How about your screen? What does it say is next to system?
Nothing.
Nothing. So we need to first select the system. How do you select a system? Right at the bottom, do you all see management as one of the criterias? Right? Click
Yep.
on system configurations. Click on system configurations. When you're there, click new. Click the button new. And now under the system name, type deathstar.gtc.edu. So under management, I clicked on system configuration. And then I click the new button. And in the system name, that's what I type, deathstar.gtc.edu. And then you click OK. And you will see Death Star loaded here. And then you can close this window. Once you do that step, then go down in the drop-down box and choose Death Star. So far, so good, everybody?
Could you go back a step?
Yes. Which, how far back?
So I have the system name as deathstar.gtc.edu.
Okay, so right here, and then you click OK. And you will see deathstar.gtc.edu listed under a system name. And then you will simply close this window. Got it?
Mine is a little bit different. It doesn't show the edu part. I'm just, yeah, okay, got it.
Okay, cool. Then you go under system, drop-down box, where it says select a system. Now choose deathstar.gtc.edu.
Perfect. Thank you.
Everybody got it? Okay, still waiting. Well, Alex, Jim Buck called it that. Before that, he named it nemesis.gtc.edu, the older version of this operating system we had, which was system, IBM iSeries. He called it Nemesis. Then we moved to System I, he called it Death Star. Yeah, probably. His love for Star Wars. Plus, it looks cool. Okay. So, Oliver, you got it? Okay, cool. Joey, are we good? Okay. Well, Xavier, we hope not. We want it to be stable. Now, everybody click on 5250 emulator. It will take you to this screen. Now, you guys don't have the credentials yet to log in. What I will share with you is your username and your password. But before I share with you your username, in the password box, I want everybody to type in all lowercase new pass. That will be your initial password. But all of you have unique usernames, which I will share with you what your username is. Make a note of that when I share that with you. But for now, in the password box, type new pass. When you log in the first time, it will ask you to change your password. Dylan, I clicked on 5250 from the general, and then this box came up. On the ACS screen, I clicked under general on 5250. Did you find it? Okay, cool, awesome. So in the password box, everybody type new pass. That will be your default password. And let me share with you your logins, okay? I will just simply scroll through this list, 18 lines at a time. You look for your name and your IBM ID is this last column, okay? So look for your name. If you find your ID, make a note of this, and that will be your ID that you will type in the login box. We'll just wait a few seconds before we move on to the next screen. Okay, I'm scrolling down. Okay, so that's my complete list. Everybody should by now would have seen their IDs, right? Okay. So now on this screen, under user, you type your ID, ITPA, and your 3 digits. Your password is new pass. When you click OK, it will ask you, Dylan, did you see your ID here? It's right here. That's ITPA 688 is your number that you will enter in the user. Okay. And then the password will be new pass. You will say, yes, I want to change my password. And here are some rules to remember. Do not put 2 same letters next to each other, and do not put 2 digits next to each other. Your password must be at least 8 characters long. So I'll write it in the chat. At least 8 characters. No 2 same letters next to each other. And no 2 digits next to each other. So it's better that you use only 1 digit.
I'm getting an error code when I log in. It's
Okay.
saying remote address cannot be resolved.
Okay. Caleb, let me stop sharing. I'll let you share your screen.
All right.
Oliver, you had a question too, right? I'll get to you. Okay, can you click? Oh, because you misspelled Death Star.
Oh, did I?
Yeah,
Oh, shoot.
yeah, click OK. Yeah, close that. Say no. Okay, go back to system configurations. No, go down to system configurations and delete that one and create a new one and type deathstar.gtc.edu. No, it's gtc.edu and click OK and close that. And now 5250. Okay, now try ITPA, whatever your 3 digits are. And then enter the new pass as a password, click OK, and say, yes, I want to update it. Okay, I will let you update yours. And I will, okay, cool. So who else? Oh, Oliver, you had a question? I can't hear you, Oliver. Nope. Is it because your microphone? Okay, I don't know. Did you had a microphone before enabled, or is it?
It was on mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Does it need to have a number, or can it just be letters?
Just use one digit somewhere.
All right. All right.
Password. Yes. Don't use special characters, Megan. So again, let me try to clear your feedbacks. For anybody who gets done setting your password and are able to log back with your new password, let me know through a green check. And in the meanwhile, I will log into this far, okay? I'm waiting for you on the screen.
Can I see my user one more time, please?
Yes.
It's Dylan F. Yeah, let me take a picture real quick.
ITPA 688.
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Mm-hmm. When you guys get this far, for those of you who get this far, you can put on the user line your username, ITPA, whatever you have.
Mine keeps saying password value not valid.
Yeah, because you probably are not following the rules.
I thought I was following the rules.
You know, Dylan gave a good idea, right? Use something along the lines of letter and number, but don't use two digits next to each other and don't use the same two letters. You want to see your password? Nobody can see anybody's password. Or I didn't follow what you're asking, Taylor. Or, oh, you meant username, Taylor? That's your username, Taylor. Okay. I'm like, okay. That's ITPA 691. Okay, cool. Now, one of the other things that you have to keep in mind when you are on this green screen environment, when you hit tab, when you're on the password, you hit tab. On the username, you hit tab, it takes you to the line of the password. Notice the password does not have a green line underneath it. The reason is when you type your password, it only moves the cursor. It doesn't echo your password back. That's a security measure. Like unlike Windows where you can see the asterisks, it doesn't do that. It takes the feed and moves the cursor, doesn't echoes it back. So now when you hit enter and your password is a valid password, it takes you to your initial program. And then when you enter on your initial program, you see your initial menu.
What do we type in for username?
Say it again.
What do we type in for user?
ITPA and your 3 digits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's your username. And then your password is whatever you change your password to. So remember that to log into V2 Cloud, you need your student ID. To log into IBM system, you need your IBM ID. So they're two different things. Okay, we're still waiting for Taylor, Dylan, Brett, and Peyton, and Kevin. Well, when you're in the username box, you hit tab, it will take you to the password box. You just simply start typing your password and you will see that the cursor is moving to the right. And when you're done typing the password, you just hit enter. Which check mark are you talking about? Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, got it, Kevin. Okay, awesome. So Kevin, you got in, and Peyton, let me know when you are in. And we're also waiting for, yeah, that's it. We're just waiting for Peyton. Okay, cool. So you guys, when you log in, you saw your initial program, and now you are looking at your main screen. Oh, sorry, main menu. Now, I will be going with your book. At the same time, I will be explaining things to you. How many types of screens are there in this operating system? Who remembers that? 4. Very good. Okay. One type out of the 4 types is called the menu screen. This is one of the examples of the menu screen. And the name of this menu screen is main menu. What is the name? Main menu. You will always see, let me use annotations now. You will always see the name of your menu in this corner. That will always be the location. This is the description of your menu name. This is the name of the menu. This is the description. And this is your system that you have logged into. This whole thing is called your menu header. Okay, this is your screen header. And that's on page 11 of your book also. So if you're looking at page 11 of the book, you will find that your screen has or your menu has a screen header. The screen header has a menu ID. So the menu ID for this one is main. It has a menu description, which is IBM I main menu. And it has a system name, which is, in our case, Death Star. So in the PowerPoint slides, this information is right here on slide number 33. So the screen header has menu ID, menu description, and system name. What else does a menu has? It has a numbered list of menu options. So here you can see a numbered list of all menus will have it. Some will have more, some will have less. but these are visual indicators. Okay. What is the third thing it has? According to the PowerPoint, the third thing it has is a selection or command line, which is right at the bottom. This is where I can type my command, like create library, you know, that kind of commands. This is my selection or command area. Okay. What else does it has? Then the last thing it has is a list of active function keys, which is right at the bottom. The list of active function keys. All menus will have it. Okay. So how many types of screens? 4. If it's a menu screen, how many areas does a menu screen has? 4. Header, numbered list, selection or command line, and function keys. Everybody with me on this one? Okay. Now let's move on to the next slide. The second type of screen is called the prompt entry screen. Prompt entry screen will always ask you for some input, like you are filling out a form on the internet. So let me take you to a prompt entry screen. Everybody on your command line, type CRTLIB. CRTLIB, create library. Don't hit enter. Do not hit enter. Rather hit the function key F4. Who can tell me what F4 stands for in this environment?
Prompt.
Prompt, okay. And all commands are one word. So CRTLIB is one word, Alex. Okay. Now, Nikki said that I hit enter by mistake. No problem. Okay. I will tell you the difference between pressing F4 and hitting enter. Okay. So look at my screen. F12 is cancel. So don't hit. Yeah, don't hit F12. Let me show you what this would do. Create library command requires some parameters. If you do not provide the parameters, your command is incomplete. So it errors out, but it doesn't throws you out. Rather, it warns you. Look at my screen. How did it warn me? It highlighted that box in green saying, I took you to the right spot, but by the way, you made a mistake. Okay, now you're fine. Don't hit F12, Nikki. Now let me show you when somebody hits F4 on create library, notice that box is not in green. See the difference? Okay, so either way, you will come to the same screen. Is just like sometimes when you make a mistake in the command, it is smart enough to take you to the right place, and it also tell you, by the way, you made a mistake. So is everybody on the screen? Okay, now you don't have function keys. Right at the top of your keyboard, you don't have F1, F2, F3. I think Macs have function keys too, right? No, they don't? I thought they do. Let me see. Oh, no, they don't. Oh. Oh, you have a MacBook? Okay. Well, my friend, you will need a function key keyboard. Otherwise, you won't be able to do anything in this class. So, do they sell Mac keyboards with function keys? Right? Yeah, so yeah, get some USB keyboard that would work with your Mac, because function keys are very important in this environment. You won't be able to get far without function keys. Okay, So probably by next class, if you can arrange something, that will be awesome. So that you can do all these activities. Okay, so for rest of you, I want you to look at figure number 16, sorry, page number 16, figure 1.9, which looks something like this. Because the book shows the different look and feel for this one with more parameters, but it's very similar. So the visual indicator for a prompt screen is that the left-hand side, which is column A, holds the field names or the parameter names. The middle column is where you put in your values. The last column is where you have your, what do you call these guys with an asterisk? System values. Yep, Dylan. Yep. So Dylan Farias. So yeah. So yeah. Okay. Oh, I don't know. Do they? Yeah, look into that. If you have either digital keyboard or some ways you can interact. I'm not a very heavy Mac user. I do use it sometimes. So I never paid attention on my MacBook that it doesn't have function keys because I don't use it that often. Okay, awesome. Okay, so now these are the three columns. We are not going into the commands yet, but I'm just showing you screen types. So we looked at two screen types. We looked at menu screen and we looked at prompt. How do you cancel the screen? Can you tell me which function key will help me cancel? F3 and F12, they both will cancel it. I'll tell you the difference next week. But for now, let's come out of the screen. Okay, let me show you another screen type. Okay, type str PDM. Type str PDM and hit enter. Yes, Oliver.
So why did we use enter on the STPR, but we use prompt with the create light?
Okay, because
is there like a difference?
str PDM is a utility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not a regular command to create objects.
All
So
right.
that's why it took you to that. Notice this is not even a menu, because notice there is no menu ID in the left corner and there's no system name on the right. So you're actually in a software. It looks like menu, but it's not a menu. Okay. So now, oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I think, okay. Now here, choose option number 1. Choose option number 1 in the selection at the bottom and hit enter. Do you all have library list system value in the first line? Okay, now hit enter again. Do all of you see what I'm seeing right now, give and take? Okay. Is this prompt screen? No, because prompt screen has some data on the left and a long line in the middle and some system values on the right. Is this menu? No, it's not even a menu because menu has a numbered items. This is the third type of screen we called the list screen. And in your books, if you look at figure 1.18 on page 23, which will be on slide number 45. This is the list or work with screen. So we have seen 3 types of screens so far. You've seen menu, prompt, and list or work with screen. Okay, we have one more screen to look at, the last one. We only have 7 more minutes to go. We can look at that. Let's hit F3 and F3 again. Each F3 takes you one step back. So we hit the F3 twice. We're back here on the main menu. Now here, I want you to press F9. What does F9 do? Who can tell me? What did F9 do when you press F9?
What's the str PDM back in the command bar?
Exactly. So it takes you through the history of commands. Press it twice. Does it take you to CRTLIB command when you press it twice?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what function key should I press? To go to the prompt screen, F4. Go ahead, press F4. Okay, now I'm about to teach you the last screen type, which is called help. Help. What do you press to get help in Windows? Which function key? F1, very good. Go ahead and press F1. When you press F1, IBM gives you level 1 help. This is a level 1 help. It shows you the help right on top of the screen where you are, and it gives you some basic information about the command. If you need more help, which function key do you think you should press? It tells you at the bottom of the help. F2, very good, Dylan. Press F2 for extended help. So when you press F2, it takes you into the detail help. This is the third screens that you're looking at, help and extended help. And you can hit the page down to page down the help, or page up to page up. You can move through the pages like that. Okay, now this is a good spot for me to tell you the difference between F12 and F3. Go ahead and press F3 first. Where did it take you to when you press F3 once? Are you sitting in that box next to library, right? Okay, now press F1 again, and then press F2 again. So you should be now in the help. This time, press F12. This time, press F12. Where did you end up? Only one step back, right? Only one step back. So F12 is like pressing escape. Means you can close a dialog box if there are multiple dialog boxes in a window, and it will take you to the previous dialog box, but you will stay in the same screen. But when you hit F3, it is like closing by pressing an X on the windows. Completely shut down and go to the previous item, as opposed to different screens within the same app. So now if I press F12 or F3, it acts the same way because there was only one step before. Okay, so what are the 4 screen types that are on page number 24? Go to the page 24 of your books, and I'll talk about the 4 screen types. What are they? That is somewhere a paragraph above in summary in chapter 1, page 24. Yep, Alex, go ahead.
I'm worried I missed a step somewhere. When I do help on create library on the CRT lib, F2 gives me a function is not available. It says function key not allowed.
Can you share your screen?
Yes.
Okay. So in the meanwhile, there are 4 types of screens, just as the Dylan Bradley said: menu, entry, you have information screen, and you have list. Okay, now you are in F2 right now, just so that you know. Now here, if you press F12, you are, okay, now click on the library where the line that reads library next to it. Yeah, this is where press F1. So this is level 1.
Oh,
Now
okay.
press F2, you're in level 2 help. So now if you press over here F12, it will take you to the previous help. And now if you press F12 again, you are on all the way back. Now press F1 again. You have to stay in that box so that it knows where you need help. So press
Yeah.
F1 and then press F2.
I think that's what my issue was when I was clicked off of it. So when I
Oh,
press F1,
okay.
it brings up this full menu.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Okay.
No problem.
Right,
Okay, guys.
stop share.
So any questions? I know we are getting towards the last minute of the class time, and I want to talk about what I want you to do during this week. Okay, so
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to clarify because the other dude who also has a MacBook in here. If you go to the settings for the MacBook and you go to keyboard, one of the like 3 settings that are on there is just straight up just using your F1 through 12 keys and simulating them as function keys. So you wouldn't need to buy external keyboard. You can just click that option and do that.
cool, good to know. Thank you. And also for those of you who you may be using laptops, your F1 through F12 could be controlled with a function key like function F1, function F2. So, you know, that's for Windows laptop users. So do we have an assignment or quiz in Unit 1? Megan says no. So Megan is right, because your instructor called Saad Yusuf is so nice to all of you. He decided not to give you any assignment or the quiz the first week because he wants you to be more familiar with the system. So what I want you to do rather is I want you to read chapter 1. Log into the green screen, practice these things, and get yourself a bit more familiar with it. Okay? I hope it was not overwhelming, even though there were a lot of new concepts. But again, as I told you before, I will go as slow as, you know, I will feel, and I will go slow. Yes, Oliver.
So as we go through chapter 1, and we see the problems and we want to practice it, are we able to access the IBM system out of class?
Yeah, exactly the same way. You go to the V2 Cloud, you log into V2 Cloud with your student ID and password, and then you can access the IBM system, ACS. Yeah, exactly the same process. And that's why I'm recording the class too, so that, you know, if you forget, you can go back. And also, since we are on the subject, let me talk about one more thing real quick so I don't forget. You see this under Unit 1. Let me share my screen. Where'd that go? Okay. Under Unit 1, do you see this folder video tutorials? Okay. I basically created these videos. Forget about this guy. We don't need this anymore. Okay. So here is a short video I created for you guys, how you can log in to the IBM system. So that's one video that I created for you guys. And there's another YouTube video I created for you guys called IBM iOS 4 screen types. So if you want to just quickly just watch that stuff, then you can do that too. Let me hide this because this was our previous VMware was our previous approach. So anyway, you guys only need these two guys. Okay.
What is that under?
It is under video tutorials on Unit 1.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And here is a link to accessing V2 Cloud Virtual Desktop for Students link. If you click on that, it basically takes you to the steps that the document I was sharing earlier. It just takes you through those steps. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for staying extra 4 minutes. And if you have any questions, let me know. And I hope you had a good class today. And let's get to the questions if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, the rest of you are free to go and have a good weekend. Yes, Peyton.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Okay, so I was wondering when you were gonna post this recording because
Either
I'm
it
very
will
sorry, but I
actually
Would-
what happens is that, you know, once the class ends, it takes an hour or 2 hours for the rendering to be done, and
Okay.
another, you know, some time for it to be uploaded because it's a long 3-hour long video. So
Mhm.
maybe if I'm up that late, you know, I probably am not planning on being up till midnight or tomorrow, mostly.
Thank you. And I also want to say I'm sorry for missing the first half. I slept through all my alarms.
Oh, okay. Okay, no problem. Okay, cool. Yes, Alex.
For signing out, do we have anything special we need to go through, or do
Well,
we
you
just
don't need to do anything special other than if you're on the main menu, you can hit 90. Or you can, yeah, I mean, like you can F3 to go to the main menu and hit option 90, or you can just close that window. Either way, it will sign you out.
I just want to make sure that that wouldn't break anything.
Yeah, no.
This is a 1990 program.
This is 1960s.
Oh, I was looking at the copyright. It said 1980.
Oh, yeah, the copyright, but this stuff has been around since 1960s. But the stuff is still used. There's so many
Gotcha.
people who would not let go of this environment to more modernized environments.
And I guess that's why we have these classes.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I'll just like to make clear.
Mhm.
So it is no assignment this week.
No assignment, no quiz. You just read and
And
then
for
get yourself familiarized with it. I
And-
feel bad for those people who missed the first week. I hope they watch the recording, but the problem is a lot of the time when you're on your own, if you had to do all of this stuff on your own, I don't know. Do you guys think you'll be able to do it by yourself? All of these things? Okay. Dylan says yes. Okay. Cool. Awesome.
and for the next week's
Yes.
assignment, what will the assignments look like? Are they gonna be
Initially,
practical?
initially your assignments will not be hands-on, will more like a descriptive assignments where you'll be finding answers to questions in the chapter. But as we go into more hands-on stuff, then the assignments will become hands-on, where you will
Alright.
be doing activities and then you will be reporting on those activities.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Have a good rest of your night.
You too. Thanks. Okay. Any other questions? Anybody? No? Okay, good. Good night. Take care, Dylan.